There's something quietly powerful about the way a home holds memory. The way certain corners seem to hum with warmth, while others feel flat, dim, or mysteriously tense. You walk through your own space every day, passing the hallway you no longer notice, the table that's always just slightly cluttered, the bedroom that doesn't quite feel restful, and you assume it's just life. But beneath the surface of furniture, paint, and routines, every home carries an energy map, a living blueprint. And within that blueprint, there are 3 zones that do more than just define how space is used. They shape how life flows, how fortune enters, how relationships breathe, how health stabilizes or unravels. When just one of these zones becomes blocked by clutter, by neglect, by misalignment, something subtle but serious begins to shift. And most people never realize it until that shift begins to show up in their bodies, their bank accounts, or the quality of their sleep. In my years working with spaces across the spectrum, from single-room apartments in the city to sprawling estates in the hills, the most dramatic changes never came from rare talismans or luxurious renovations. They came from something far simpler. People changed their relationship with space. They noticed, they adjusted, they cleared, they placed one object with care, they uncovered a forgotten corner, and within weeks, sometimes days, everything began to feel different. The air lightened, the conversations became easier, unexpected checks arrived, old tensions dissolved, and it all began with reconnecting to these 3 core zones. In today's video, I'm going to take you on a journey through these exact energy centers. You'll learn where they are, what they mean, how to diagnose when something's off, and how to reawaken their full potential using Feng Shui techniques that are subtle but deeply effective. These are not abstract rituals. These are grounded, time-tested corrections that anyone can apply, no matter the size of your home or the stage of your life. Together, they form what I often call the energetic triad of the home. 3 points that, when activated in harmony, become the internal architecture for sustained abundance, stability, and flow. And yes, I'll be sharing a story, one that still surprises people when I mention it, about a world-renowned celebrity who ignored zone number 2 for years. Her home looked immaculate, perfectly curated, but something was always just stuck. After a Feng Shui consultation revealed a specific blockage, and she made a single shift, what followed wasn't just a change in space. It was a full energetic reset that mirrored it back into her personal and professional life in ways she never expected. I'll share those details with you in just a moment. But first, let's begin at the root. Because if your foundation is unstable, if the energetic heart of your home is weak or overlooked, nothing else can truly hold. This first zone is where nourishment begins. Not just physical nourishment through food, but emotional nourishment through presence, warmth, and consistency. It is where you build from. And it's the first place to audit if your life feels like it's running on fumes, if money slips through your fingers no matter how hard you work, or if peace in your home feels just out of reach. And before we move deeper, let me pause to say this. If this kind of content resonates with you, if it opens something inside you or gives you language for a feeling you've always had about your space, I would love your support. A simple like helps this video reach more people who may be quietly seeking this kind of guidance. A share might be the very tool a friend or loved one needs to create change they didn't know was possible. And subscribing to New Day Mindfulness not only helps me reach my next milestone of 2,000 followers, it helps me continue sharing these practices with depth, integrity, and care. Every week, I'll be releasing new insights, case studies, and soulful strategies to help you turn your space into a silent ally for the life you're creating. So take a breath with me, in through the nose, slow and full, and exhale through the mouth, soft and steady. Let this be your reset, your reconnection. Because sometimes change doesn't begin with action, it begins with awareness. And once you see these three zones, you'll never be able to unsee the way they've been shaping your days all along. Let's begin. Zone 1, or the true heart of the house. Because when this part is out of rhythm, everything else struggles to function. Zone 1, the center of the home, vital chi point. At the core of every home lies a silent pulse. It doesn't hum with technology or sparkle with design. It often goes unnoticed, passed through but rarely inhabited. Yet in the ancient teachings of Feng Shui, this center is not just architectural, it's energetic. It is the home's Huyet key, its vital chi point, the invisible heart through which all energy is distributed. Just as the heart governs circulation in the body, the center of your home determines the rhythm, coherence, and overall vitality of the entire space. When this center is strong, clear, or grounded, the rest of the home receives nourishment. But when it's blocked, overburdened, or ignored, the energy of the house begins to fragment. Communication suffers, health falters, focus splinters, goals become diffuse. There's effort, but no cohesion. And life starts to feel like it's being lived in pieces rather than as a whole. This energetic heart can be compromised in many ways. Structurally, one of the most disruptive configurations is having a staircase or bathroom placed directly in the center of the floor plan. These features, though often necessary, introduce vertical turbulence or drainage right where stability is needed most. A staircase pulls energy up or down too rapidly, creating a sense of urgency or imbalance in the home's emotional climate. A bathroom introduces release and descent, subtly broadcasting the idea that vitality is leaking or being discarded. In both cases, even the most beautifully designed homes can suffer from an undercurrent of restlessness, fatigue, or instability that can't quite be explained. It's not about aesthetics, it's about alignment. Other common issues include heavy furniture, anchoring the center, bookshelves, oversized tables, storage units, especially those in dark colors or materials that feel visually or physically dense. These pieces press down on the key of the home, flattening its breath, making it harder for energy to circulate freely. When the heart of a home feels heavy, so do the people who live there. Symptoms often include digestive issues, blood pressure fluctuations, sleep disruptions, and general emotional fatigue. Relationships within the home may grow distant or strained, not out of conflict, but out of disconnection. There's no shared center to return to, no rhythm to resynchronize the family field. Sometimes the problem isn't clutter, it's absence. A neglected center, one that feels cold, unused, or emotionally dead, creates a void in the home's energy matrix. This can show up as indecision, scattered goals, and a sense that life lacks structure. You try to plan, to organize, to focus, but it feels like pushing against fog. There's no internal container to hold your effort, and so the future feels perpetually uncertain. But correction is always possible. In Feng Shui, we don't punish dysfunction. We soften it, realign it, and let space remember how to breathe. The first and most immediate step is to clear the center of all unnecessary items. If the center is currently occupied by furniture, ask yourself, does this piece serve a centering function? Or is it here by default? Remove anything that doesn't support grounding, cohesion, or flow. The space doesn't need to be empty, it needs to be intentional. Then consider the geometry. Circles are powerful symbols in Feng Shui. They represent unity, continuity, and natural flow. Introducing a round rug, table, or decor item in the center can help regulate the qi and restore harmonious distribution throughout the space. Roundness also softens the field, reducing tension and encouraging cooperation among household members. Color is another vital tool. The earth element governs the center, and so warm, natural earth tones, beige, terracotta, soft clay, golden browns are ideal. These colors stabilize the environment, soothe emotional turbulence, and signal to the nervous system, you're home, you're held. A ceramic bowl filled with citrine stones, representing clarity, warmth, and prosperity, can further anchor the energy of the center, especially if placed with care and attention. Avoid flashy or sharp accents here. The center should not stimulate, it should settle. Lighting matters too. Overhead lighting should be warm, diffused, and calm. If the center lacks natural light, add a lamp with a dimmer, preferably with a ceramic or fabric shade. Let the light feel like sunrise, not spotlight. And while these adjustments are subtle, their impact can be profound. One example that often surprises viewers comes from Taylor Swift's New York apartment, a place designed not just for beauty, but for resonance. According to an interior designer involved in the project, Taylor intentionally left the center of the home open, furnished it with curved seating and soft-toned floors, and used the area as a reset zone. There were no electronics, no statement pieces, no distractions, just a minimal circular flow space. During her time living there, she reportedly completed two of her most creative and successful albums, Reputation and Lover, both of which marked powerful shifts in her personal and artistic narrative. Coincidence? Perhaps. But in energy work, what we call coincidence is often just alignment expressing itself. And here's one final expert tip. Keep mirrors and electronics out of the center. Mirrors multiply energy, and in the central zone, this can amplify anxiety or create disorientation. Electronics, especially large screens or Wi-Fi hubs, introduce erratic frequencies that disrupt the grounding function of the center. This zone is not meant to stimulate, it's meant to stabilize. Let it be the eye of the storm, the inhale between decisions, the space where all your intentions find pause before becoming action. When the center of your home is aligned, everything else begins to return to rhythm. Meals feel more nourishing, conversations become easier, time slows just enough for presence to settle in. You may find that the small frictions you used to normalize, missed appointments, miscommunications, restless sleep, begin to fade, and in their place, a quiet coherence returns. You feel centered because your space is. The chi no longer fragments, it circulates. And the home at last becomes a true heart, pulsing gently in sync with the life you are building inside it. Zone 2, the front door, mouth of chi. Every home has a face, and every face, whether human or architectural, tells a story. It greets the world, speaks on your behalf, and defines how you are received long before you've had a chance to speak. In Feng Shui, the front door is more than an entryway. It is your home's mouth, the primary intake valve through which all energy, good, best, neutral, potent, enters your living space. Just as the breath you take determines how your body functions, the quality of energy your home receives through this door shapes the flow of opportunity, clarity, and external support that finds its way into your life. It is one of the most critical zones in the entire energetic map of the house. And yet, it's also one of the most overlooked. The front door governs what is called the mouth of chi. It is where your house first makes contact with the outside world. This is where new ideas, financial opportunities, social connections, career advancements, and even romance begin to locate you energetically. A healthy front entrance sends a clear signal to the universe. This home is awake, receptive, and open to movement. But when this door is blocked, neglected, misused, or visually diminished, life begins to feel like a hallway that leads nowhere. Opportunities stall before they reach you. plans struggle to gain momentum. You might feel like you're doing everything right, and yet nothing seems to stick. That's not failure, it's energetic resistance. And most of the time, it starts right at the threshold. The most common blockages are physical: shoes, recycling bins, bikes, or delivery boxes piled near the entrance do more than create visual clutter. They choke the energy before it can even enter. Imagine trying to speak while someone covers your mouth. It's uncomfortable, disorienting, and effortful. That's exactly what happens to the energy flow when the front door is partially blocked. Even if it's technically functional, the subconscious mind reads that area as congested, and that perception sets the tone for everything that follows. Another subtle but serious issue is when the front door opens directly into a wall. In Feng Shui, this is known as qi crash, a condition where energy has nowhere to go, causing it to stagnate or disperse chaotically. Instead of circulating into the home, qi hits the wall and collapses. You might experience this as difficulty getting things off the ground. Ideas that sound promising but fizzle out. Fatigue that sets in right as you get started. Financial progress that feels just out of reach. A third problem, perhaps the most insidious, is the neglected door. Doors with cracked paint, faded numbers, rusted hardware, or broken locks not only weaken the physical structure, but emit an energetic signal of abandonment. They say to the field, this space is not cared for. It is not safe, it is not active. Even more surprisingly, many people don't use their front door at all. They come in through the garage, the side gate, or the back door out of habit or convenience. And while this may be logistically practical, it sends a confusing message to the energy grid of the home. If you don't use your own mouth, how can you expect the world to hear you? If the home's voice remains quiet, how can opportunity recognize its call? One high-profile example of this exact scenario involves fashion designer and entrepreneur Victoria Beckham. For years, she reportedly experienced persistent delays in her product launches and a vague but constant sense of tension in her work life. After consulting with a Feng Shui practitioner, it was discovered that although her home had a stunning, thoughtfully designed front entrance, it was rarely used. She entered almost exclusively through the garage. The front door, though beautiful, had become functionally dormant. The consultant advised her to reactivate the space by using it daily, improving the lighting, and adding symmetrical plants to frame the doorway. Once she began honoring that shift, not just visually, but behaviorally, she noted smoother rollouts, more consistent team dynamics, and what she described as unexpected support appearing exactly when needed. That's the nature of the front door. It doesn't just open outward, it draws inward. To correct energetic misalignment at the entrance, start by making your front door the most intentional, cleanest, and consciously designed part of your home. This doesn't require luxury, it requires presence. Clear any visual or physical clutter. Wipe down the door, the knob, the threshold. Repair anything broken. If the paint is fading or chipped, repaint it in a color that supports your personal element. Red for fire, green for wood, yellow or beige for earth, white for metal, or blue-black for water. Choose a finish that feels alive, not muted. This door is your signature, and the universe reads it before it reads anything else. Next, use symmetry to signal balance. Flank your door with 2 matching potted plants, lantern-style lights, or sculptural features. Symmetry creates psychological ease and invites opportunity to cross the threshold confidently. If you live in a small space or shared housing, even a pair of small clay pots with rosemary or basil can shift the entire feel of the entrance. The plants don't have to be dramatic, they have to be alive. Lighting is vital. A dim or poorly lit entry dulls your presence and slows energetic movement. If possible, install a soft, warm light above them or beside the door that activates automatically at dusk. Let it glow not as a beacon of security, but as a quiet reminder that this home is awake, cared for, and ready. And if your front door opens directly into a wall, soften that impact with a mirror that expands the space or a vibrant piece of artwork that symbolically draws the eye forward. Let it create visual invitation, a path where none seems to exist. You can also reinforce energetic welcome with a richly colored doormat. Choose one in earth tones, terracotta, mustard, clay, brown, or in a color aligned with your personal birth element. Avoid faded or generic mats. Select one that feels deliberate, like a gentle handshake to the energy entering your space. And finally, one of the simplest but most powerful practices you can adopt is a weekly door cleansing ritual. Every 7 days, take a damp cloth, ideally infused with citrus oil or warm salt water, and gently wipe down your door from top to bottom, including the frame and handle. As you do, speak this phrase aloud or silently. I welcome good energy and new opportunities. May what enters through this door be aligned, abundant, and clear. This is not performance, it is presence. And it tells your environment, your energy field, that you are open to receiving. The front door is not about how your home looks to others. It's about how your life begins to move once you start honoring its role. A healthy mouth of qi is not only a sign of energetic maturity, it's a catalyst for meaningful change. When this zone is activated with clarity, care, and purpose, it becomes impossible to stay stuck. Your goals gain traction, the right people arrive, resources flow, and you begin to sense that you are no longer chasing opportunity. It's meeting you at the door. Zone 3, the southeast corner, wealth and flow. In the architecture of energy, every direction holds a meaning, and in the house, no corner is more directly linked to wealth, prosperity, and retained abundance than the southeast. This is not just the zone of sudden windfalls or surprise checks. It governs sustained flow. The kind of wealth that grows roots, the kind that matures into legacy. The southeast is where money learns to stay, where resources, once received, can circulate, accumulate, and nourish the long arc of a life well lived. In the ancient traditions of Feng Shui, this corner is ruled by the wood element. Growth, expansion, upward movement. And like any living thing, this zone requires vitality. Not noise, not clutter, not pressure, but conscious, rhythmic attention. When this part of your home is strong, your finances begin to reflect that strength. Income flows with fewer blocks. Investments gain steadiness. Decisions around money feel less reactive and more confident. But when the southeast is neglected, obstructed, or drained, wealth does not just slow, it begins to leak. You work harder but retain less. Expenses rise mysteriously. Financial stress reappears in cycles. And the sense of material security always feels just out of reach. To find this zone, stand at your main entrance and use a compass, physical or smartphone-based, to locate true southeast. The compass doesn't lie. It bypasses your assumptions about layout and offers a direct map to your energetic wealth portal. In some homes, this corner may fall into a living room, bedroom, home office, or garden. In others, it may hide in an overlooked storage area or bathroom. Wherever it is, its function remains the same: to feed the systems that support your long-term material well-being. The most common issues I've seen in client homes often seem small at first glance. A broken appliance shoved into this corner, left for months. A pile of unpaid bills gathering dust. A dead or dying plant, once gifted with good intentions, now browning, curling, and quietly signaling decay. Or worse, this corner turns out to be where the family trash can lives, or where the laundry basket overflows with the unwashed. Symbolically, every one of these items speaks to financial stagnation, delayed growth, and uncontained output. In energetic terms, they do more than sit, they speak. They tell your environment that flow is no longer active, that what was once alive is now forgotten. that what should nourish is instead draining. In even more complex homes, the southeast corner might house a guest bathroom. In that case, the symbolic clash becomes even more pronounced. The bathroom, governed by the water element, is associated with release, elimination, and downward movement. When that energy occupies the wealth zone, the push and pull between receiving and releasing becomes distorted. You may earn more, but also spend more. Save only to encounter an unexpected cost. It's not a curse, it's an energetic imbalance. One that can be softened not by removing the bathroom, but by reshaping the symbolism within it. The first step in activating this area is clearing it completely. Remove anything that is broken, lifeless, or unused. Throw away what is rotting, outdated, or associated with debt or frustration. This zone cannot hold growth if it's already full of energetic residue. Once cleared, reintroduce life intentionally. One of the most powerful additions is a living, healthy plant associated with abundance. Palea jade plant or lucky bamboo are ideal. They belong to the wood element and echo the upward movement of prosperity. Palea's round leaves resemble coins and are sometimes called the Chinese money plant. Jade plants are resilient, sturdy, and symbolize steady increase. Lucky bamboo, with its hollow stems, allows energy to rise and flow without resistance. Place the plant in a clean, bright container, preferably ceramic, clay, or wood-based, and tend to it often. Its health will mirror your financial field. If the plant thrives, so will your flow. Beyond plants, symbols of abundance can quietly reinforce the message you want your space to carry. A small bowl of clean, shiny coins, real currency, not plastic, placed with intention. A framed artwork depicting flowing water, rising mountains, or lush forest scenes. A golden figurine, not for superstition, but for what the color gold represents. Value, brightness, clarity. These objects do not need to dominate the space. In fact, subtlety often works best. But each one must be placed with the intention to nourish, not decorate. Color matters too. Purple, green, and gold are especially potent in this corner. Purple, long associated with royalty, dignity, and wealth, encourages elevation. Green echoes the wood element and symbolizes healthy growth. Gold anchors value and illumination. You don't need to repaint an entire wall to access their power. A purple vase, a green candle, a golden picture frame, all will do their work if chosen and positioned with care. And while it might be tempting to add mirrors to amplify the space, caution is necessary. In the wealth zone, mirrors that face downward, toward the floor or toward clutter, can symbolically deflect and disperse energy. Rather than increasing flow, they split it. Avoid placing mirrors in this area unless they reflect something beautiful, growing, or upward moving. And absolutely avoid mirrors that face toilets or trash bins. These compound the message of financial leak, not gain. Speaking of trash, if your southeast corner happens to host a bin, move it. If it cannot be relocated, contain it fully and cover it always. Line the bin with intention. Use warm colors or symbols of earth to neutralize the downward pull. This isn't about shame, it's about message. Let everything in this zone speak to continuity, upward motion, and respectful management. A striking example of how seriously this principle is taken can be seen in the Los Angeles estate of Jay-Z and Beyoncé. According to design professionals involved in the project, the couple's southeast garden was intentionally cultivated to nourish long-term flow. But they didn't opt for extravagance. There was no elaborate fountain, no gilded sculptures. Instead, the focus was on natural movement. Flowing water features that whispered rather than shouted, shade-tolerant plants that thrived in rhythm. The designer once noted that what they wanted most was a space that felt alive and self-renewing, a space that moved energy without needing attention. It's no surprise that during the years they lived there, both their personal and professional empires expanded exponentially. That is the quiet brilliance of Southeast activation. When done right, it doesn't announce itself. It simply begins to support you in ways that feel natural, calm, and cumulative. So if you feel that money enters your life but doesn't stay, if you work hard but never feel secure, if your goals seem to stretch forward but never land, Look to your southeast. Let it be a sacred field, not a storage zone. Tend to it weekly. Speak to it as you water the plant, clean the coins, or dust the frame. Say quietly, may flow be constant, may resources be respected. May what I build grow strong. These aren't wishes, they're calibrations. And in the space between care and consistency, something extraordinary begins to rise. Not luck, not magic, but aligned prosperity made visible. Mini story, not long ago I worked with a client named Amelia, a warm, intelligent woman in her late 30s who had been living in the same townhouse for nearly 7 years. She reached out during a period when everything in her life felt like it had slowed to a quiet but unmistakable drag. There was no crisis, no major external disruption, but the sense of momentum she once felt had dissolved. Professionally, she described feeling under-recognized. She was doing the work of 2 people at her nonprofit job, yet promotions always seemed to pass her by. Socially, she had grown isolated, not by intention, but by inertia. Her friendships had thinned, and the invitations that once flowed regularly now felt like memories from another chapter. Even at home, there was a low-grade heaviness. She described walking through her front door each day as neutral at best and sometimes mildly depressing. She didn't know why. The home was clean, the walls were painted soft cream, but something didn't breathe. During our initial walkthrough, done virtually, I asked her to show me her main entrance. She hesitated, then laughed. "You mean the front door I never use?" She turned her camera around and revealed what she called the hallway of chaos. A narrow corridor just inside her front entrance, now stacked on both sides with tote bags, unopened packages, boxes marked for donation, and a shelf that hadn't been dusted in months. Honestly, I can't remember the last time I even opened this door. I always come in through the garage. This space just became invisible. What Amelia didn't realize was that her front door, the literal mouth of Chi, had become a closed channel. It wasn't just physically blocked, it was energetically abandoned. The space where new opportunities were meant to enter had been turned into a silent archive of indecision. Feng Shui teaches that the front door is not just functional, it's symbolic. It is your statement to the universe. I am ready, I am receiving, I am connected to movement and newness. When you ignore the mouth, the voice weakens, the invitations slow. The world stops knocking, not because it has nothing to offer, but because it no longer sees an entrance. Together, we mapped a simple plan. Amelia began by clearing everything out of that hallway, every big opening, every box, every item that had become invisible through repetition. She then cleaned the baseboards, wiped down the door itself, and replaced the light fixture above with a soft, warm Edison bulb that cast an amber glow, rather than the cold fluorescent flicker she had grown used to. We added a new welcome mat in a rich terracotta shade and placed a tall, healthy fern in a woven planter just beside the door, a living signal of life and care. For the first time in years, she began entering her home through that front door every single day, even if just symbolically. And then something subtle but undeniable began to shift. Within 10 days, Amelia reported receiving a surprise email from a former colleague who had become a hiring manager at a different organization, asking if she would be open to a conversation about a senior role that had just opened up. A week later, she received an unexpected raise from her current employer, not because she had asked, but because a new budget allocation had made room for retroactive merit adjustments. Around the same time, she bumped into an old friend at the farmer's market, someone she hadn't seen in 4 years. And their reconnection sparked an entire weekend of laughter, reconnection, and the slow rebuilding of a lost social rhythm. Amelia didn't buy a single crystal. She didn't chant mantras. She didn't paint dragons on her walls. She cleared a hallway. She turned on a light. She re-engaged with the space where life was meant to greet her. And in doing so, she changed her posture in the world, not just externally, but energetically. The most powerful lesson in her story, and in so many like it, is this. Feng Shui is not about superstition. It's about alignment, about returning your home to its rightful role as an active partner in your growth, not a passive backdrop to your exhaustion. When energy flows through space, it flows through life. And when you restore circulation where it has been long ignored, the most unexpected things begin to find you. Not through force, but through resonance. Amelia didn't force change. She invited it. And in doing so, she reminded us all that the simplest corrections often hold the greatest power. Not because they are grand, but because they are true. Final word. Whenever someone asks me where to begin with Feng Shui, I don't hand them a compass or a catalog of trinkets. I don't point to crystals, wind chimes, or the color of their curtains. I ask them to check three places: their front door, the very center of their home, and the southeast corner. These are not just zones on a blueprint. They are the pulse points of a house. They speak the loudest, whether you're listening or not. They shape the emotional climate of your mornings, the flow of your fortune, the texture of your thoughts. If these three are misaligned, no amount of decor can compensate. But when they are attuned, even through the smallest of actions, everything begins to move differently. Not perfectly, not magically, but in rhythm, in support, in forward motion that feels like it finally has your back. And here's what I always emphasize. Feng Shui is not about fixing problems after they arrive. It's about creating environments that prevent them from forming in the first place. Just like we brush our teeth, not because they're already decaying, but to keep them strong, we care for space so it can care for us in return. You don't need to wait until your mood collapses, your finances wobble, or your relationships feel strained to adjust your home. You can shift now proactively, quietly, and let those changes ripple into every area of your life. So I invite you to pause and reflect. Which of these three zones, the front door, the center, or the southeast corner, feels most out of sync in your space right now? Which one whispers for attention, even if softly? Leave a comment below and share where you plan to begin. I read every note, and more often than not, your insights help others find their starting point too. This is not just a video, it's a collective realignment. And if this journey sparked clarity or a sense of recognition in you, if it stirred something you felt but never had words for, I'd love for you to support the continued growth of this channel. A like lets me know the message resonated. A share might be the turning point for someone in your circle who's quietly been searching for this exact shift. And a subscribe helps us inch closer to our next milestone, 2,000 followers, and brings more grounded, soulful Feng Shui content into the world. Together, we're building more than just videos. We're building a field where space becomes sacred again, where homes become healers, and where our inner and outer lives move as one. Thank you for allowing me to share this time with you. May your front door open to clarity. May your center hold with grace. And may your southeast corner bloom with a prosperity that doesn't just arrive, but stays. Until next time, stay mindful, stay open, and let your space rise to meet the life you're ready for.